This week's blog post is on Erastus Salisbury Field's Historical Monument of the American Republic. In the opening of the email to my weekly Sunday recommendations, I promise art-related suggestions meant to inspire, to provoke wonder or thought, or to amaze by sheer beauty. The Historical Monument of the American Republic by Erastus Salisbury Field falls into the provoking wonder class. Here's why I couldn't resist making a trip to Springfield, Massachusetts to see it. First of all, it's enormous, 9 feet wide, 13 feet high. Second, it shows a 500-foot tall cluster of towers with steam-powered trains running between their tops. And third, the artist aimed to represent the whole history of the United States, from the settlement at Jamestown, Virginia, right up to his own time. This picture is the historical monument in its current home, the Michele and Donald Damour Museum of Fine Arts, which is part of the Springfield Museums complex. I have argued quite often that art should not be didactic, that its purpose is not to teach a historical narrative, but to present the artist's view of what's important. You can look at the chapters on medieval art in my books, Innovators in Painting and Innovators in Sculpture, for more on that. Field's historical monument is miles across the line into being didactic art, but as history presented by a painter with a very distinctive point of view, I find it fascinating. Let me tell you about Field. Field, 1805 to 1900, a native of Leverett, Massachusetts, traveled to New York City in 1824 to study with Samuel Morse. Long before Morse invented the telegraph, he was painting portraits of such celebrities as General Lafayette, John Adams, and James Monroe. Field was in Morse's studio for only a few months before Morse's wife died and Morse closed the studio. Field returned to Massachusetts, becoming an itinerant artist who painted hundreds of portraits for middle-class families who couldn't afford the likes of Morse. The two on screen are examples of his work. He never did learn to show anatomy properly. The proportions of his figures are sometimes peculiar and they move awkwardly. He also had a penchant for symmetry and decorative designs, which you can see on the lace on these women's collars. Today his work is considered folk art. By the late 1840s, the daguerreotype was providing cheaper and faster portraits than any painter could. Field began offering his services as a daguerreotypist in Massachusetts, and he switched his painting to historical subjects. Which brings us to the Historical Monument of the American Republic. Field may have begun the historical monument just after the Civil War, or he may have started it in 1874, when a competition was announced for the design of the central building for the 1876 Centennial Exposition in Philadelphia. His painting was mostly completed by 1876 with 8 towers. That was from this tower over to this tower. There is no particular order to the topics shown, tower by tower, or to the scenes on each tower. Some of the scenes have inscriptions, some of them don't. To help his viewers decipher the painting, Field published an 11-page pamphlet that explained it scene by scene. It was called Descriptive Catalogue of the Historical Monument of the American Republic, and it appeared in 1876. The pamphlet accompanied an engraving of the painting that was done in the same year. Field planned to raise money by exhibiting the painting around the country, which artists such as Albert Bierstadt had been doing quite profitably with their large landscape canvases. Judging from what he wrote in the descriptive catalogue, Field also apparently hoped that his monumental towers would actually be constructed. The tallest would have been some 500 feet tall. By comparison, the Washington Monument is 555 feet, but of course it is not nearly so wide or so elaborately decorated. In Field's painting, the towers are set in a park in which elegant ladies and gentlemen stroll around. A few of them mount the stairs at the center front to enter the towers. Field wrote in his pamphlet, quote, "A professed architect, on looking at this picture, might have the impression that a structure built in this form would not stand." End of quote. But Field proposed to circumvent those structural problems by making the towers solid, except for a central circular staircase. Via the staircase, visitors would be able to visit the latest American innovations, which would be on display in the upper stories. In 1888, we don't know what provoked it, Field added the 9th and 10th towers at the far left and the far right. Field died in 1900 and his towers were never built. In 1933, the historical monument was found rolled up in an attic. It's now hailed as a grand example of American folk art, and it hangs in a place of honor in the museum in Springfield. Only one copy of the descriptive catalog of the historical monument of the American Republic, as the pamphlet that Field wrote, seems to exist in American libraries, and alas, no one has uploaded a copy of it yet to the net. I've compiled the highlights of the towers that I talk about below from the sources that are listed at the end of this post. So we are looking now at towers 8 and 1, which are the center of the painting, down here. The lower of the two towers at the center, Tower 8, focuses on Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War. At the top of the tower, here, Lincoln rides to heaven in a fiery chariot. Midway up the tower, Lincoln is assassinated by Booth. Here's Lincoln, here's Booth, as George Washington looks on aghast at the right. Tower 1, the tallest tower, is behind Tower 8. It shows events following Lincoln's assassination. At the very top of this and 6 other tall towers in the painting, dancing women wave American flags, presumably celebrating the American centennial in 1876. These 6 towers are connected by a series of iron truss bridges on which 6 steam locomotives can be seen chugging along. Here are a few of them. Near the top of many of the towers, you can see it here, and here, and here, and here, are the initials TTB. Field explained that these stood for the true base. Field's belief in the importance of religion for the country also comes out in the long inscription about the Bible at the base of towers 3 and 4, on which we'll talk in a minute. The 3 towers at the left of the central towers are 2, 7, and 5. So this is 1 and 8, which we just looked at. We're looking now at 2 and 7 and 5. The focus here is on events that occurred in the south. The large rectangular relief at the base of Tower 2, shown here, shows the founding of Jamestown, Virginia in 1607. That one is pretty easy to spot. According to various sources, higher up on Tower 2 are scenes from the Jamestown Massacre, 1622, from Bacon's Rebellion, 1675 to 76, the French and Indian War, 1754 to 63, the War of 1812, and the deaths of Adams and Jefferson in 1826. I have to admit here and in many of the other towers, I cannot tell which scene is which. Rising from the base of Tower 2, just above the Jamestown relief, is a short tower topped by a jaunty figure of Satan. Below him is an inscription in Field's somewhat shaky lettering. Quote, "The institution of slavery we inherited from the good old patriarch. Please let us alone, ye trouble of Israel." End of quote. Tower 7, just right of Tower 2, shows scenes preceding and during the Civil War. And again, I cannot sort out what these are. Tower 5, just right of Tower 7, includes, from the base up, early settlements in Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, scenes from the French and Indian Wars, Cornwallis's surrender at Yorktown, Robert Fulton's steamboat, and Daniel Webster's famous 1830 speech that included the line, "Liberty and Union, now and forever, one and inseparable." Now we switch to the other side. Here is Tower 1 and 8 where we started. We're looking at Towers 3, 4, and 6 over here. At the base of Towers 4 and 3 is a lengthy inscription. Usually you have to put some effort into figuring out an artist's metaphysical views, but Field doesn't leave any question, puts them right out there, front and almost center. Here's some excerpts from the inscription. The Bible is a brief recital of all that is past and a certain prediction of all that is to come. It settles all matters of debate, resolves all doubts, and relieves the mind of its scruples. It reveals the only living and true God. The Bible is a book of laws to point out right and wrong, a book of wisdom which condemns all foolishness and vice, a book of knowledge which makes even the simple wise. It is the ignorant man's schoolmaster and the wise man's dictionary. It furnishes knowledge, witty inventions for the ingenious, and dark sayings for the grave, and it is its own interpreter. Tower 3, the second tower from the right side, starts at the base with the landing of the Pilgrims in 1610. It includes the Boston Massacre, 1770, the Boston Tea Party, 1773, Washington's inauguration, 1789, the Whiskey Rebellion, 1794, and Samuel Morse's invention of the telegraph. At the top of the tower are Washington and Ulysses S. Grant, and you would think that I could find them, but I cannot. Tower 4, which is just left of Tower 3, celebrates the freedom of the American people. It includes the Continental Congress, 1774, the Declaration of Independence, 76, the Constitutional Convention, 1787, and wars over Florida and Mexico. At the top of the tower is Bleeding Kansas, 1854 to 59. It's one of the immediate predecessors to the Civil War. Tower 6, just right of Towers 1 and 8, and left of Tower 4, shows at the base the settlement of New York, 1610, and William Penn's treaty with the Indians, 1682 to 4. Above it are the Stamp Act, 1765, and the War of 1812. At the very top, the Fugitive Slave Act is signed. As I said, there is no obvious system to the scenes on these towers. Towers 10 and 9 were added in 1888 on the far left and the far right, respectively. No key to them has ever been found. Tower 10 at the left is clearly related to the south, as are the other towers left of center, because on the bases of the columns near the top are abbreviations for Louisiana, Georgia, Mississippi, and South Carolina. But what else is going on there, we have no idea. Tower 9 is at the far right. I am fascinated but perplexed by this set of reliefs, in which a Janus-faced man, a man who faces two directions simultaneously, holds a pointer and a sheet of paper and looks at different groups of men in 3 separate scenes. I would like to know what he's doing, but I have no idea. To read more about the historical monument of the American Republic, see the sources that I've given you in the blog post. DianeDurantewriter.com has hundreds of posts on sculpture, painting, architecture, and my other obsessions. To join the free Sunday Recommendations email list, visit the URL that's on the screen or email me. And you can say, "Well done, Diane," or support my work and receive rewards by means of the tip jar on DianeDurantewriter.com. As always, thank you for listening.